Hello, good afternoon. It's Alexa here with Kelowna Now. I'm sitting down for another episode with Steven Hopp, Rutland Medical Pharmacy, the pharmacist there, one of them, and the owner. And we have an interesting topic. He brought it to the table and was like, let's talk about it because it's kind of happening and it's current. So we're going to talk about measles. So I was like, why would we need to talk about measles? So maybe I feel like most people know what measles are, but can you explain to people maybe that don't know what measles are?
Absolutely, yeah, and I would agree. Part of me feels like, why should we need to talk about measles? But it's
relevant.
It's relevant. It's been ongoing, and we've seen increased cases of measles over the last year to 2 years. So it is quite relevant. But a background in terms of what is measles.
Mm-hmm.
Measles is a virus. And we often hear people talk about measles and German measles, which are two completely separate things. But when we talk about measles and the measles outbreak that's been going on right now, it's typical measles, not German measles. So it's a virus. It is passed on from person to person through droplets, so people coughing, people sneezing, touching that. So just like the common cold and the flu, it's passed in very much the same way. But I mean, a couple interesting things. Usually when you catch a cold or come in contact with a cold, you have symptoms within a few days. Measles is a little bit different in that people may not have symptoms until 1 to 2 weeks after they actually catch it. And unfortunately, people are quite likely contagious at least 4 days prior to showing symptoms. So once it's in the population, it's really easy to pass on because people don't know they have it and they're contagious.
So I remember getting my measles vaccinations, but are people doing that, or is that in the school systems? Or is that something that people aren't getting anymore?
It's free.
Okay.
It's eligible, so everyone's eligible. So kids actually at 12 months old and then between age 4 and 6 would be getting measles vaccines. Assuming, of course, people's parents have to take them to get those vaccines or consent to them getting the vaccines if they're done in school. Interestingly enough, there's been some schools around recently that have made measles vaccines eligible to kids in grade 6 instead of another vaccine, an HPV vaccine that's often they're eligible for, just because they're seeing a need. Public health is seeing a need for this vaccine to be available, maybe to people that for some reason didn't get it or didn't know they got it, whether they got it or not when they were younger.
How does this just came to me, how do you know if you have measles? Like, I know I got mine, but would it be in your history? Like, would you know?
Yeah.
Or?
So actually, public health records are certainly available. If you're a little bit technologically savvy, not even that much, because I wouldn't call myself that technologically savvy, but you can get registered on your health portal.
Okay.
Which you can get on a phone, on a computer, and you can actually look back over anything that's been entered on your personal health record electronically, and vaccine records are certainly available on that. I know for me, I mean, I'm 46 now, and I can see my record going back into the 90s.
Wow.
So, I mean, a lot of people would be able to track their record. But interestingly enough, and I get a lot of seniors and older people coming in too, because they've seen in the media about measles cases going, oh, do I need a vaccine? And so that's a common question. In general, the older population wouldn't.
Okay.
So people that were born before on 1970 or before, they say that they should have immunity
to it,
just because adults born before 1970 likely had measles, whether they know it or not.
Wild.
Yeah.
It's always interesting because you could have had something, but you just don't actually know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we're worried about the kids. Why is measles though, like when you go search it, like you read that it can, like someone can die from measles. So why is this so scary in children?
It does affect children more. They say that for people that aren't properly vaccinated or don't have natural immunity, you're 90%, so 90% susceptible to actually catching it if you're exposed to it. 68% of cases of measles are in children. But why it's concerning, 13% of people who get measles will be hospitalized. That's a lot.
That's a high percentage.
When you consider a lot of other viruses and things like that, nowhere near 13% of people would be hospitalized. 23% of children under age 5 will be hospitalized. So we're approaching a quarter of kids who get it. And if we look at what happened prior to vaccines, some of my statistics are American, but Canada would have similar numbers. So before the vaccine was available, 500 people a year died in the U.S. And 48,000 were hospitalized. That's not even going into the severe side effects and symptoms that can occur from measles. So, I mean, kids are just much more susceptible, and especially the young kids. I mean, the one death from measles that we have had in Canada this year was an infant that caught it, unfortunately, from his or her mother. So the child was born with measles and unfortunately ended up dying from complications.
That's scary. So people that maybe are feeling, you said that we've had something like 200 cases in Canada, or no, just in June?
Just in the first week of June, there were over 200 new cases of measles, and I don't think it's something that we're hearing about in the media as much as maybe a year or even 6 months ago. So just in Canada in June, the first week, I correct myself, of June, there were over 200 reported cases, confirmed cases of measles.
So what can people, I guess, is this, again, coming to Rutland Medical Pharmacy and getting the vaccine? Like, can we go right to you, or do we need to go to the doctors? Or what is our steps if you are sitting there and you have young children and, you know, maybe you have missed it in the school system or you just want to go hurry and get it? How does it work?
Yeah, so pharmacists can do vaccines for kids age 4 and up. So, I mean, if you're dealing with a real little one, you have to go through public health, but certainly the public health units can and will book people in for childhood and infant vaccines. So if you don't know if your kids have had the vaccine and you want to protect them, certainly looking for our records initially. If the records aren't available, then the approach would be, you know what, if we can't see proof of vaccination, then it's better to vaccinate, even if they're doubling up. There's nothing unsafe about that. Can you come to Rutland Medical Pharmacy or other pharmacies that may have it? Yes. And we try to keep some of some doses of the measles vaccine on hand now. It's an MMR vaccine, so a combination vaccine, because people need it now. There's definitely much more of a demand than there was in the past.
I don't remember. Is this a one shot or is this like a 6-month vaccine?
So it is 2.
Okay.
So as long as you get 2, so you would get your initial shot and then you do get a booster. Once you get the two vaccines, then you have lifetime immunity, and the evidence shows it's 97% effective in preventing someone from even catching measles once you have the 2 total doses. Very effective. Yeah, it's a very effective vaccine. I know sometimes there's some, people feel that vaccines aren't effective if they're not preventing a virus or a disease that it's for at a rate that we'd like to see. So 97% effective is really good.
Yeah. It's worth getting, I would say.
Absolutely.
Well, it's so crazy to think, we're not that far into, well, I guess we're June is flying by, but 200's a lot to me when you think of like a virus that I kind of thought was gone.
Yeah, it was considered, they used the terminology to say that they had eliminated the virus in Canada in 1998. It wasn't completely gone, but they were saying it was eliminated because there were no new cases that were attributed to people living in Canada. There's always a source of, maybe with world travel, there's so much travel, and it's far from eliminated in many places in the world. So we would see a few cases where it was brought back into the country, but it was considered eliminated, at least domestically, we'll say, within Canada in 1998. But it's back, unfortunately.
Well, okay, so that was going to be my next question. How does measles just come out of the blue? But a lot of it, you would say, is us traveling or people coming from out of town.
Of course,
traveling.
yeah. The world is small now. People have the ability to go all over the world and all over the place, and that's a positive thing. I think seeing the world is great, and it's positive, and it's a learning experience, but it brings risk, and that's where responsibility to protect ourselves and protect others comes into play. And a vaccine that statistically is very safe. I mean, again, going back to what we said, where 13% of people who get measles will be hospitalized, but depending on the side effect you're looking at, the rate of anaphylaxis and really serious life-threatening reactions to the measles vaccine is somewhere in the range of 1 in a million. So compare those two.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you, okay, why are we not getting this vaccination? Because there's crazy side effects, or?
No more than any other vaccines, really. There's a lot of vaccine hesitancy, and I understand. I mean, this talk now, we're not going to go into the COVID vaccine and all the various issues, but what's gone on over the last few years has caused some vaccine hesitancy with people, and I understand that. But I think, this one's different. It's been around.
It's also been around, like it's got a lot of...
The vaccine's been around since the late 60s, early 70s. It's got years and years of history, and so we know the data, we know what it does, and it's horrible when you come across that one person that has a bad reaction to a vaccine. It can, sometimes kids get fevers from it. Sometimes kids, will feel sick from it, and there's those rare cases where kids can actually get what's called a febrile seizure after they get a vaccination. Their fever is high, and they end up having a seizure as a result. Now, that's not just with this vaccine. That can occur with any vaccine. And febrile seizures, although scary, are rare and almost always are fully recovered from, and don't precipitate more seizures. So I don't want to just say it's not an issue and that it's not scary for a reason, but when you compare those things to the serious side effects of getting measles, to me it's very easy to make a decision, and getting the vaccine is, to me, by far the safer option.
Well, yeah, when you it's sad, but like we could get hit by a car today, or like, you know what I mean? Like there's all these different things that really living, you never know when your time is up. And I think it sounds like the odds, especially in measles, is it's been around a long time. It obviously had worked because we weren't seeing cases. So now that people aren't maybe vaccinating kids, or we're traveling more because lots of people are. So I don't know, you want to just be safe and not be in the hospital over something scary like that.
Not be in the hospital, and I mean, if it's okay, I'll go a little bit more into the potential complications. So we mentioned high fever, and of course, most people know you can get a full body rash and spots, but there's also about a 10% occurrence of otitis media, so ear infections with measles. Same with pneumonia, so that's where a complication can come in. And it's not necessarily measles causing the pneumonia, but it weakens your system, and then you can get bacterial pneumonia and other infections as a result of it. There's respiratory failure and death due to complications in about 1 in 10,000 cases. Now, if you're pregnant, something else to consider. We think mostly of kids, but measles has a very high occurrence of causing miscarriage, low birth weight, miscarriage, and premature birth as well, which all of those things could have come into play with unfortunately the infant that died. And then studies have shown complications for measles years down the road,
I believe that.
Especially for kids. So we see in the highest rate of kids under 5 who have had measles having neurological disorders 7 to 10 years down the road that may pop up then. So seizures that pop up later, declining in intellectual and behavioral conditions that, there's very good evidence to say that it's due to the early measles infections.
Yeah, I always think that once you have, I'm lucky I didn't have measles. Did you have measles?
I actually did. I didn't, and I was vaccinated, but I didn't realize until I was an adult. Somehow it came up in conversation, and my mom mentioned I had measles when I was really young. And fortunately, it wasn't serious. Or maybe I would have been a brilliant scientist if maybe I have neurological decline, but no, not really something to joke about. But I did, and I didn't know. Fortunately, it wasn't serious, and I did get vaccinated. My parents certainly did that just to make sure that I was protected.
But maybe you didn't really know you had measles
or
the effects because you had some of that. Maybe you would have had more of symptoms later on or issues if you weren't vaccinated. Maybe. You don't really know. But okay, any other? So is this vaccine also I don't know what an MMR vaccine is, measles, mumps, and rubella. Is this for all those, or is it just one? Or?
So the measles vaccine is always measles, mumps, rubella, MMR. Rubella is the German measles.
Okay.
So it is a
form.
What the heck is that? Rubella. You see all these names. But rubella is just the scientific term for German measles, and mumps, as we know, is another virus that can be serious, that has different effects, but they're all viruses that they can put together in a vaccine. They tend to occur around the same age, so they combine it to make sure that you're protected against all of them. So if you didn't get a measles vaccine, probably you weren't vaccinated against these other ones because they've been combined for years.
Okay. So if you are oh my gosh, why are we talking about measles? Or I didn't know there was measles. If you have questions or you concerns, Rutland Medical Pharmacy really wants, and this is why we started a video series, because lots of people don't actually realize that you can get lots of help and support from your pharmacist. So if you live in Rutland or you want a new pharmacist, go see Steven, because they really just want to be in your health corner and be there to answer questions. And if you're looking for vaccinations, it sounds like they are a great way to support. And then also, you're not standing in line as long,
almost no lineups at our store.
It just helps also the hospitals and all those if you go and talk. And you're going to tell them, can't help you, I can help you. So, but check Rutland Medical Pharmacy out, because they really just want to be in your health corner. Thank you, Steve. Any last minute measles advice, or do you think we covered it?
No, I think we covered it, and thank you, Alexa, for that. And we just want to be there as a resource to people. And if you have questions, whether you're from Rutland or anywhere else in Kelowna, you can give us a call. Phone number is readily available, and nothing's going to be pushed on you. We're just there to try to give advice and help you and tailor what you want to. Tailor our advice to what you want. So we're always going to be, patient specific. If you want to find out about a vaccine, if you're interested, great. If you're not into the vaccine, that's okay too. We're still happy to give advice and try to help you with whatever your needs are and help you to improve your own health outcomes.
That's amazing. Okay, well, I couldn't have said it better than that. So make sure you take care of yourself. It's very important. And obviously, when you have children, you have to think of them. So please reach out to Steven if you have any questions about measles, vaccines. They're here to help. And we wish you a good afternoon.
Thank you.